Picture yourself waking before dawn in feudal Japan. The air is cold, biting against your skin through thin layers of cloth. You are a samurai, a warrior of the elite class, bound by codes older than memory itself. But this life, romanticized through centuries of storytelling, holds truths that would break most modern souls within hours. Let us walk through a single day in your life and discover why you simply wouldn't survive it. Your eyes open in darkness. It begins before your consciousness even fully returns. Your body has been trained since childhood to rise at the hour of the tiger, around 4 a.m. There are no alarm clocks, no gentle notifications. This conditioning runs so deep, it has rewired your very biology. Failure to wake even once could mean disgrace or death in a surprise attack. The cold greets you immediately. The temperature in your sleeping quarters hovers just above freezing during winter months. There is no central heating, no thermostat to adjust. The paper-thin shoji screens that form your walls do almost nothing to keep out the cold. You sleep in layers of cotton robes, but even these provide minimal insulation compared to modern bedding. Your body must generate its own heat, and you've learned to sleep lightly, muscles tensed against the chill. As you rise, your back aches. You've been resting on a thin futon laid directly on tatami mats, which themselves rest on a raised wooden floor. The Western concept of a supportive mattress doesn't exist here. Your spine has adapted somewhat over the years, but the chronic pain never fully disappears. Modern bodies, accustomed to pillow-top mattresses and ergonomic support, would rebel within a single night. You must walk outside now, regardless of weather, to a small water basin for your morning purification ritual. The water is ice cold, drawn fresh from a well. You splash it on your face, your hands, your neck. This isn't refreshing. This is shocking, painful, a test of will performed every single morning. You cannot show weakness. You cannot hesitate. The cold water purifies not just your body, but your spirit, or so you've been taught. But your modern immune system, unprepared for this daily shock, would likely succumb to illness within weeks. As you dress, a different kind of weight settles on your shoulders. The rigid hierarchy that governs every movement, every word, every breath. You must be acutely aware of your exact rank within the samurai class. Are you a Hatamoto, a direct retainer of the shogun? Are you a Gokunin, a lower-ranked samurai? Your clothing, your swords, even the way you tie your hair must reflect this status precisely. One wrong detail, one presumptuous element, and you could be challenged to a duel, or stripped of your position. The mental energy required to navigate this system, every moment of every day, is exhausting in ways modern people cannot fathom. Now you must prepare your hair in the traditional chômage style. Using a razor, you shave the top of your head from the forehead to the crown, leaving only the sides and back. Then you gather the remaining hair into a top knot, folding it forward and tying it tightly. This isn't a fashion choice, but a requirement. The shaved portion allows your helmet to fit properly in battle, and the style itself is a mark of your warrior status. The process takes time you barely have, and the constant shaving irritates your scalp. One infection could be fatal in an age without antibiotics. As dawn breaks, you notice what has become a constant companion: hunger. Breakfast, when it comes, will be sparse. Perhaps a bowl of rice, some pickled vegetables, a small amount of miso soup. The samurai diet is sufficient for survival, but rarely satisfying. Protein is limited, mostly coming from small amounts of fish or soy products. Red meat is largely forbidden by Buddhist principles. Your body runs on this minimal fuel while you train for hours each day. Modern metabolisms, accustomed to 3 full meals plus snacks, would struggle immensely. But even before breakfast, something heavier than hunger presses down on you. From the moment you wake, you carry the weight of Bushido, the way of the warrior. This code demands absolute loyalty, courage, honor, and self-discipline at all times. There is no moment where you can truly relax, no space where you can simply be yourself. Every action is scrutinized through this lens. You are not an individual with personal desires. You are a living embodiment of your Lord's will and your family's honor. The psychological pressure is relentless, building from the moment you open your eyes. You step outside for morning training. The training ground is not a comfortable gym with padded floors and climate control. It is simply a cleared area of packed earth, often muddy from rain or frozen solid in winter. You will spend the next several hours here, and your body will absorb every impact, every fall, every strike without the cushioning modern athletes take for granted. The weight of the wooden practice sword crashes into you before you've fully settled into your stance. Morning training begins with kata, the formal patterns of swordsmanship that you must perform with absolute precision. But before you even touch a blade, your master observes your stance. If your posture is off by even a fraction, you will be struck, not gently corrected with words, but struck with a bamboo rod across your shoulders, your legs, wherever your form has failed. This is not considered abuse. This is education. Your body must learn through pain, and modern concepts of positive reinforcement don't exist here. Your katana, the curved longsword that symbolizes your status, weighs between 2 and 3 pounds. This might not sound like much, but you will hold it extended, perform cuts, and maintain fighting stances for hours without rest. Your forearms burn, your shoulders scream. The sword becomes impossibly heavy, yet you cannot lower it, cannot show weakness. Modern arm strength, built perhaps through occasional gym visits, would fail within the first hour. You will perform the same cut 1,000 times, then 1,000 more. Not approximately 1,000, exactly 1,000, counted out by your master or a senior student. Each cut must be identical to the last, perfect in form and execution. This level of repetition is mentally crushing. Modern minds, accustomed to variety and stimulation, would rebel against this monotony. But through this repetition, the techniques become instinctive, faster than thought, and anything less than this dedication means death in battle. As sweat begins to pour, despite the cold, you maintain your composure. Heavy breathing is acceptable, but you cannot wipe your brow, cannot shake out your aching arms, cannot lean on your sword to rest. Such displays would shame not only you, but your entire family line. You must maintain composure, even as your muscles quiver and your vision begins to blur from exertion. The mental fortitude required exceeds anything most modern people will ever need to summon. During training, you are paired with other samurai for sparring, and these sessions are not friendly. Pride, status, and old grudges turn these matches into barely controlled combat. Injuries are common and expected. A wooden sword to the head can crack your skull. A staff strike to the ribs can break bones. You have seen training partners permanently injured, even killed in particularly fierce exchanges. Yet you must engage fully because holding back is dishonorable and will be noticed. Modern safety standards, liability waivers, and protective equipment are fantasies from an unimaginable future. The archery training that follows swordsmanship brings its own torments. You must use a yumi, an asymmetrical longbow that stands over 2 meters tall. Drawing this bow requires immense strength, pulling perhaps 60 to 80 pounds of force. But strength alone isn't enough. You must draw it while kneeling in the formal Caesar position, sitting on your heels with your knees together. The technique is called kyujutsu, and it demands perfect harmony of breath, posture, and spirit. Your legs go numb in this position. Your lower back spasms. Yet you must draw, aim, and release with meditative calm. Most modern people couldn't even achieve the proper sitting position, let alone shoot accurately from it. As the sun climbs higher, you are now sweating heavily, but you cannot remove layers of clothing during training. You wear a keikogi, a heavy cotton training jacket, and hakama, the wide pleated trousers. Underneath, you have on additional layers. All of this becomes soaked with sweat, adding weight and restricting movement. But you cannot train shirtless or in minimal clothing. Such immodesty would be disgraceful. Heat exhaustion is a constant risk, yet you receive only brief water breaks at your master's discretion. Periodically, perhaps once a week or month, your training extends far beyond normal hours as a test of your spirit. You might train from dawn until midday without break. During these sessions, some students collapse, some vomit from exhaustion. These reactions are seen as weaknesses to be overcome, not signs that training should stop. You must push past every signal your body sends, past pain, past exhaustion, into a state where only will remains. Modern understanding of overtraining syndrome, rhabdomyolysis, and the importance of recovery would seem like weakness here. Throughout your sword drills, you must visualize actual combat. You imagine the enemy before you, see their death, feel your blade cutting flesh. This mental conditioning is deliberate. You are being trained to kill without hesitation. But this also means you are spending hours each day dwelling in violent scenarios, training your mind to react with lethal force. The psychological toll of this constant violent visualization would be immense for most modern people, potentially leading to conditions we now recognize as combat stress or trauma, even before you ever face real battle. Morning training finally ends, and you return to your quarters. You cannot simply collapse and rest. You must first clean your equipment meticulously. Your sword must be wiped clean of every drop of sweat and moisture, then oiled to prevent rust. This ritual takes time and precision. A rusted blade is not merely damaged property. It is a reflection of your character, a sign of slovenliness that could cost you your position or even your life in battle. Modern convenience, where objects can be tossed aside and forgotten, doesn't exist in this world where maintenance is survival. When you finally sit for your midday meal, the hierarchy asserts itself again. You do not eat when you are hungry. You eat when you are permitted to eat. The meal is served at a specific time, and you must wait for those of higher rank to be served first, to begin eating first. If you are low in the hierarchy, you might wait additional minutes while your food grows cold, watching others eat. Once permission is given, you must eat with perfect etiquette, proper chopstick technique, no slurping except when culturally appropriate, no speaking unless spoken to. The meal is not about enjoyment or nourishment. It is another performance where mistakes can have consequences. Today, like most days, you receive rice, pickled daikon radish, and miso soup with a few pieces of tofu. That is all. The portions are modest, calculated to sustain but not satisfy. Occasionally, there might be a small piece of fish or some other protein, but this is not guaranteed. Your body craves more, especially after hours of intense training, but you cannot ask for seconds, cannot show disappointment with what you've been given. You must express gratitude for even this meager meal. Modern bodies, accustomed to caloric abundance and dietary variety, would be in a constant state of unsatisfied hunger. As you eat, a darker knowledge weighs on your mind. This might be your last meal, not in a poetic sense, but as a genuine possibility. You could be called to battle at any moment. You could be ordered to commit seppuku, ritual suicide, for a failure, or to take responsibility for your lord's mistake. You could be challenged to a duel by another samurai over a perceived slight. Every meal, every moment, carries this awareness. The psychological burden of living with your mortality so immediately present would be crushing for people accustomed to the illusion of safety and long-term planning. After the meal, what should be a period of rest becomes another test. You are assigned administrative duties, maintaining records, copying documents, studying military strategy and history, but you cannot read or write casually. Japanese writing requires mastery of thousands of characters. Hiragana, katakana, and kanji borrowed from Chinese. Each character must be written with precise brushwork. Any sloppiness is unacceptable. You spend hours hunched over documents, your eyes straining in the dim light, your hand cramping from gripping the brush. Modern literacy, with its phonetic alphabet of just 26 letters, is incomparably simpler. The content of what you're studying offers no respite. Military texts written centuries ago in formal classical Japanese that differs significantly from the spoken language. Philosophical treatises on Confucian virtue and Buddhist detachment. Strategic analyses of historical battles where thousands died. None of this is optional learning. You will be tested on it by your superiors, and failure to know these texts thoroughly could mark you as unworthy of your position. The intellectual demands, layered on top of the physical ones, would overwhelm most modern people who are accustomed to specializing in one area rather than mastering multiple complex domains simultaneously. A senior samurai enters the room. You must immediately stop what you're doing and bow to the precise degree that your relative ranks require. Too shallow a bow is insulting. Too deep suggests sarcasm, or that you're acknowledging a rank they don't hold, which is also insulting. You must gauge this correctly in an instant. Remember the complex web of relationships and positions, and execute the proper gesture. Then you must remain in that bowed position until dismissed. If your back is already aching from training and hunching over documents, this sustained bow becomes another test of endurance, but you cannot show any sign of discomfort. The senior samurai asks about your training progress. This is not a friendly inquiry. It is an evaluation. Your answer must be humble, but not self-deprecating, confident, but not arrogant. You must demonstrate that you're working hard while acknowledging you have far to go. Every word is a calculation. Every pause is scrutinized. Modern communication, with its casual directness, would be catastrophically inappropriate here. One poorly chosen word could create an enemy or be interpreted as a challenge. Then comes a sudden order. You are told to accompany this senior samurai to visit another lord's estate as part of a diplomatic mission. There is no discussion, no checking your schedule, no time to prepare mentally. You simply say, "Hi," "Yes," and bow. The concept of work-life balance, of personal time, of having any say in your own schedule, is completely absent. You are a tool to be used at your lord's discretion, and this can mean traveling on dangerous roads, entering potentially hostile territory, or any number of other scenarios, with no warning or choice in the matter. You must quickly put on your formal attire, including your kamishimo, a combination of a stiff-shouldered vest and wide hakama trousers worn over your kimono. This outfit is uncomfortable, restricting your movement, and must be worn with perfect presentation. Then you must arm yourself appropriately. Your daisho, the paired long and short swords that mark your samurai status, must be positioned precisely. Every element of your appearance will be judged by those you meet, and any imperfection reflects not just on you, but on your lord and your entire clan. You start walking. There are no cars, no bicycles, not even a horse for someone of your rank. You will walk the entire distance, which could be 10, 15, or 20 miles, in your uncomfortable formal clothing, wearing your swords. The roads are unpaved, often muddy or dusty, depending on the weather. Your feet, clad in straw sandals, will blister. Your legs will ache. but you must maintain a dignified pace and bearing the entire way, because you represent your Lord at every moment. The roads pass through forests and remote areas where bandits operate. These aren't romantic outlaws. They are desperate, violent men who will kill you for your swords alone, which are valuable beyond measure. You must remain alert every moment, watching the tree line, listening for unusual sounds, ready to draw your blade instantly. Modern people, accustomed to traveling in secure vehicles on monitored highways, cannot imagine this level of constant vigilance. As you walk, there is nothing to occupy your mind but your own thoughts. There are no phones, no music players, no podcasts. You walk in silence unless your senior addresses you. Your mind must occupy itself with rehearsing proper etiquette, reviewing the information you might need about the Lord you're visiting, or maintaining awareness of your surroundings. Modern minds, accustomed to constant stimulation, would struggle immensely with hours of walking in silence with only their thoughts for company. When you need to relieve yourself, the hierarchy even governs this basic function. There are no rest stops, no public facilities. You must step off the road into the bushes, and even this must be done with consideration for rank. If your senior needs to stop, everyone stops. If you need to stop, but he doesn't, you must hold it and suffer, because requesting a stop would be presumptuous. Basic bodily functions become another source of potential shame and discomfort, governed by rules rather than simple necessity. Dark clouds gather, and soon rain begins falling. You have no umbrella, or rather, you have one, but it would be improper to open it before your senior does, and he seems determined to endure. The rain soaks through your clothing. Your straw sandals become waterlogged and start to fall apart. Water runs down your neck into your eyes. But you cannot complain, cannot hurry, cannot show discomfort. You must continue walking at the same measured pace, maintaining the same dignified bearing as if the rain doesn't exist. You finally reach a village where you'll rest briefly. There are no hotels or inns as we understand them. You stop at a simple establishment that offers basic shelter and food. But even here, you cannot relax. You must sit in formal Caesar position on the floor. Your legs are already exhausted from walking, and now they must fold beneath you in this painful position. The numbness and pins and needles sensation that develops after several minutes is excruciating, but shifting position would be improper. The food you're served is whatever the establishment has available. Perhaps some rice, some pickles, maybe a thin soup. The quality is poor, the portions small, but you must eat it with gratitude and proper etiquette. You cannot send food back, cannot ask for something different, cannot even show disappointment in your expression, and you must wait for your senior to finish eating before you can stop. Even if you've finished your smaller portion long before, you must use the facility's toilet, a simple hole in the floor over a pit. The smell is overwhelming. There is no toilet paper, only small wooden spatulas or rough paper if you're lucky. The squatting position required after hours of walking and sitting in Caesar is agonizing for your already taxed legs. Privacy is minimal. Modern plumbing and sanitation would seem like miracles from another world. Your senior decides you've rested long enough, perhaps only 15 or 20 minutes, and you must immediately continue, regardless of whether your body is ready. Your muscles have started to stiffen from the brief rest, making the resumption of walking even more painful than the first stretch. But you must rise, arrange your clothing, and follow without hesitation or complaint. The sun is now at its peak, and you're walking in multiple layers of formal clothing, carrying swords on your hip. Sweat pours down your back, your face. You become lightheaded from heat and dehydration. Water is available only when you reach streams or villages, and you must drink from whatever source is available, with no guarantee of its purity. Waterborne illness is a constant threat, one that could kill you in an age without modern medicine. You finally arrive at the other lord's estate. You are not a guest here. You are a potential threat. Guards at the gate eye you with suspicion and hostility. They examine your swords, your papers, your demeanor. Any sign of disrespect or improper behavior could lead to conflict. You must be simultaneously confident, showing your lord's authority, and deferential, respecting their lord's domain. This balancing act, when you're exhausted from hours of walking, requires mental energy most modern people couldn't summon. When you're finally admitted, you must present yourself to the host lord. You enter a formal reception room and immediately prostrate yourself, forehead to the floor, in the deepest bow. You must hold this position until acknowledged. Your back, already aching, screams in protest. Your legs, still recovering from the journey, cramp in the folded position. But you cannot move, cannot shift, cannot show discomfort. You are a statue of respect and discipline, no matter what your body is experiencing. The diplomatic conversation that follows tests you in different ways. You are not a participant. You are an ornament, a symbol of your lord's status. But you must listen intently to every word, because you may be questioned about this meeting later. The language used is incredibly formal, full of archaic terms and indirect phrasings. Insults are veiled in compliments. Threats are hidden in poetry. You must understand the subtext, while keeping your face completely neutral. Modern communication, with its directness and explicit meaning, would be useless here. A tea ceremony is performed as part of the diplomatic ritual. This is not a casual beverage service, but a highly choreographed ritual with hundreds of specific movements and meanings. Every gesture of the host has significance. Every response from a guest must be exact. You must know when to bow, how to hold the tea bowl, how to rotate it before drinking, how to compliment the tea and the implements. One mistake could insult your host, damage relations between the domains, and end your career or your life. You're served food at a formal banquet. The dishes are elaborate, presented beautifully, but many ingredients are unfamiliar or even unpalatable to modern tastes. You might encounter raw fish, fermented soybeans with a powerful smell, sea urchin, or other delicacies that require an acquired taste. But you must eat everything offered with apparent enjoyment and gratitude. Showing distaste would be catastrophically rude. Even if something makes you gag, even if you're allergic or it makes you ill, you must consume it with a smile and thanks. Sake is poured freely after the meal, and refusing drinks is not an option when offered by your host or other high-ranking samurai. You must match them cup for cup. Even as the alcohol hits your exhausted, underfed body with particular force, you must maintain your composure and dignity even as you become intoxicated. Many crucial decisions, many tests of character happen during these drinking sessions. A careless word while drunk could be fatal. As the evening wears on, you're shown to sleeping quarters. You are not given a private room, but assigned space in a communal area with other visiting samurai. Some of these men are from rival clans or domains with historical grudges against yours. You must sleep among potential enemies, vulnerable, in an unfamiliar place. Modern concepts of privacy and security would seem like impossible luxuries. You arrange your swords within reach and lie down. But true rest is impossible when you must remain partially alert, even in sleep. In the middle of the night, you're awakened by a commotion. Perhaps an alarm has been raised. Perhaps there's a disturbance in the castle. You must instantly be ready to fight, to respond to orders, to protect your senior, even at the cost of your life. The transition from sleep to combat readiness must be instantaneous. Modern people, accustomed to groggily waking to alarm clocks and needing coffee, would be dangerously slow in this environment. The next morning, you're roused before dawn to prepare for departure. You've slept perhaps 4 hours, and those hours were restless and uncomfortable. But you must immediately rise, arrange your clothing and swords, and present yourself as if fully rested and ready. The exhaustion compounds day after day, and there's no opportunity to catch up on sleep, no weekend to recover. The chronic sleep deprivation would degrade the judgment and physical capabilities of most modern people within days. You begin the return journey, retracing your steps, walking the many miles back to your own domain, still maintaining perfect composure, still alert for danger, still aching from the previous day's exertions. But now you carry the additional weight of the mission's outcomes, the messages you must relay, the observations you must report. Your mind cannot rest, even as your body screams for it. Upon your return to your own domain, there is no time to rest from your journey. You must immediately report to your superior about every detail of the diplomatic mission. This report must be thorough, accurate, and presented with proper formality. You will be questioned closely about what you observed, what was said, what you intuited about the other Lord's intentions. Your exhaustion must not affect the quality of your report. Any failure of memory or judgment reflects on your competence. Evening falls, and you finally return to your quarters. You discover that in your absence, your living space has been inspected. This is routine, a way of ensuring all samurai maintain proper standards. Your belongings have been examined, your weapons checked. If anything had been found out of place or in poor condition, you would face punishment. The complete lack of privacy, the constant surveillance, would be psychologically devastating for people accustomed to personal space and freedom from scrutiny. You try to tend to your injuries from the journey. Your feet are blistered and bleeding from days in straw sandals. Your shoulders are raw, where your swords rubbed against them during the long walk. Your body aches in ways that make simple movement painful. But medical care is rudimentary at best. You have access to some herbal remedies, perhaps a doctor who practices traditional medicine if you're lucky. There are no antibiotics, no painkillers as we know them. You must treat your wounds with whatever is available and hope infection doesn't set in. In your weakened state, you're vulnerable to disease, and disease can spread rapidly through the close quarters where samurai live. You've seen strong warriors reduced to fevered weakness in days. You've watched dysentery empty the barracks. You've heard the coughing of tuberculosis in the night. Any of these diseases could kill you. and there's little effective treatment beyond herbal remedies and hoping your body can fight it off. If you fall ill, you become a burden, and being a burden can cost you your position or worse. There is no sick leave, no health insurance, no guarantee of care if you become seriously ill. The next morning, training resumes as if you'd never been away. There is no recovery day, no reduced schedule to account for your journey. You are expected to perform at the same level as always, despite your exhaustion and injuries. During sword practice, your blistered hands must grip the handle firmly. Your sore shoulders must absorb the impact of strikes. You cannot make excuses or ask for lighter duty. You are called to witness a punishment. Another samurai has committed some offense, perhaps a breach of etiquette, perhaps a failure in duty. You must watch as he is beaten, or, in serious cases, as he commits seppuku. This is meant to be educational, a reminder of what happens when discipline fails. But you cannot show weakness, cannot look away, cannot vomit or faint. You must witness it all with a steady gaze, absorbing another lesson in the deadly seriousness of your code. Your own vulnerability to such punishment hangs over you constantly. One mistake, one moment of weakness or improper behavior, and you could be the one facing discipline. There is no appeals process, no union representation, no HR department. Justice is swift and harsh, determined by your superiors with little recourse. The constant awareness that your life and position hang by a thread of perfect performance would create paralyzing anxiety in most modern people. The financial insecurity adds another layer of stress. Samurai are paid in rice stipends, not currency. The amount you receive depends on your rank and your lord's prosperity. If the harvest is poor, your stipend might be reduced. You cannot supplement your income with other work. Doing so would be beneath your status. Yet you must maintain appearances, keep your equipment in perfect condition, and support any dependents. The financial precariousness, combined with the inability to change your situation through effort or career changes, would be crushing. Your family obligations offer no comfort. You are expected to marry according to arrangements made by your family and lord, not based on love or personal choice. If you have children, they are not primarily yours, but future servants of your Lord. Your duty to them is to train them in the same harsh discipline you endured. Any affection must be subordinated to this duty. Modern concepts of parental warmth, of raising children in supportive environments, would be seen as weaknesses that produce weak warriors. The political machinations you must navigate add yet more strain. Your domain is full of factions, rivalries, and shifting allegiances. You must be aware of these currents, align yourself properly, and avoid becoming collateral damage in others' conflicts. But you must do so without appearing political, without seeming ambitious or scheming. The social navigation required would be exhausting for anyone, but especially for people accustomed to more straightforward workplace politics. During advanced combat training, you face a new level of intensity. Today's lesson involves fighting multiple opponents simultaneously. This isn't a theoretical exercise. 2 or 3 other samurai attack you with wooden weapons, truly trying to strike you. You must defend against them all, reading multiple angles of attack, responding instantly. Getting hit with a wooden sword hurts tremendously, leaving bruises that last for weeks. But you cannot call a timeout, cannot tap out. You fight until the drill ends or until you're beaten down. Periodically, to understand the true weight and balance, to feel the deadly seriousness, you practice with your actual katana. The margin for error vanishes completely. One wrong move by you or your training partner could result in a severe injury or death. You've seen it happen. The psychological pressure of this training, knowing that one instant of lost focus could be your last, would break most people's concentration entirely. The expectation that you will take a life when ordered looms over all this training. You are being shown techniques specifically designed to kill quickly, to cut through armor, to strike vital points. You are being desensitized to violence through constant exposure and conditioning. But underneath, you are still human, and the knowledge that you will one day use these techniques on a living person is a psychological burden that grows heavier with each day of practice. Older samurai share their stories of battle. Men who have seen combat speak of the reality, the screaming, the blood, the smell of opened bodies, the faces of the dying. They speak of the nightmares that follow, of flinching at sudden sounds, of finding it hard to be around their families after what they've done and seen. This is your future, and there is no therapy, no counseling, no recognition that these are wounds as real as physical ones. Your Lord wants to know that you are ready, that you can kill without hesitation. You are sent with a group to execute a captured criminal. This isn't an abstract order. You must personally participate. You must draw your blade and strike a bound, defenseless person. This is your introduction to taking human life, and how you perform here will be remembered. The moral and psychological weight of this moment would traumatize most modern people for life. You return to your quarters afterward, your blade stained with blood. You must clean it carefully, performing the ritual that transforms it from a murder weapon back into a sacred symbol. But you cannot clean your mind as easily. That person's face haunts you. The feeling of your blade cutting through flesh replays in your memory. Yet you cannot speak of your distress, cannot show that you're affected. You must act as if this was routine, natural, just another duty fulfilled. Your philosophical training takes a dark turn. You study Zen Buddhism, not for spiritual enlightenment, but to prepare for death. You learn to meditate on your own mortality, to visualize your death in detail, to become comfortable with the idea of non-existence. This mental preparation is considered essential for a warrior. But the psychological practice of dwelling on death daily would push most modern people toward depression or existential crisis. You must learn the precise technique for ritual suicide, seppuku, where to make the cut, how deep, the proper angle. You learn about the role of the kaishakunin, the assistant who will behead you to end your suffering. You're taught the proper poems to compose before death, the proper way to arrange your clothes so they don't disarray in death. This isn't theoretical. This is practical training for something you may have to do. The reasons you might be ordered to commit seppuku are numerous and terrifying. Your Lord's failure could require it. Your own mistake could demand it. Being captured in battle might necessitate it to avoid interrogation. Bringing shame to your family could result in the order. The list goes on, and you must be ready to comply without hesitation. The knowledge that your life could be forfeit at any moment for reasons beyond your control would be psychologically devastating. You are chosen to witness another samurai's seppuku, perhaps even to serve as the kaishakunin. You watch as he opens his abdomen, see the pain in his face as he performs the second cut. If you're the kaishakunin, you must perfectly time your strike to end his suffering without dishonoring him by being too quick. The precision required, the emotional weight, the graphic violence, all would traumatize most modern people who witness death only from great distance or through screens. The emotional suppression required of you never ends. You cannot grieve openly when comrades die. You cannot express fear before battle. You cannot show excitement or joy in ways that might seem undignified. Every emotion must be carefully controlled and expressed only in approved ways. The psychological toll of this constant suppression would lead to what we now recognize as severe emotional disorders. But in this time and place, it's simply expected. Beyond warfare, you are expected to be cultured. Samurai must practice calligraphy, compose poetry, understand tea ceremony and flower arrangement. These aren't hobbies, but obligations. Your poetry will be judged, your calligraphy examined for flaws in character. A warrior who is only a warrior is considered incomplete and crude. The mental energy required to master both martial and artistic disciplines simultaneously would overwhelm most people. Before battle, after executions, during ceremonies, you must produce appropriate verses. These aren't casual rhymes, but sophisticated poems, following complex rules of form and illusion. They must reference classical works, demonstrate proper sensibility, and reveal the correct philosophical understanding. Failure to produce adequate poetry when required marks you as uneducated and unworthy of your position. Many evening hours are consumed by calligraphy practice. You must copy classical texts with perfect brushwork. Each character must be balanced, properly proportioned, written with the correct stroke order and appropriate rhythm. Your calligraphy is seen as a direct expression of your character and spiritual cultivation. Sloppy writing equals sloppy thinking and a sloppy spirit. The hours of practice, the wrist and arm pain, the constant corrections and criticisms would frustrate modern people accustomed to keyboards and digital text. Flower arrangement lessons seem incongruous with your warrior training, but Ikebana is not decorative. It's deeply symbolic, expressing philosophical concepts through the positioning of branches and blooms. You must understand the meanings, the seasonal appropriateness, the balance of elements. The same precision and discipline from your sword work applies here. The mental shift between practicing deadly techniques and arranging flowers with spiritual significance requires a flexibility most minds don't possess. Tea ceremony practice continues your education in control and precision. Every movement must be exact, performed with complete awareness. The preparation of tea becomes a meditation on perfection, on the relationship between host and guest, on the transience of life. But it's also physically demanding, sitting in Caesar for long periods, performing complex movements with grace despite numb legs and aching back. What should be relaxing becomes another test. Diseases sweep through your compound regularly. Without understanding of germ theory, without antibiotics, without proper sanitation, illness spreads rapidly. You've seen strong warriors reduced to fevered weakness in days. You've watched dysentery empty the barracks. You've heard the coughing of tuberculosis in the night. Any of these diseases could kill you, and there's little effective treatment beyond herbal remedies and hoping your body can fight it off. Your teeth are a constant source of misery. There is no dentistry as we know it. When teeth rot or become infected, they are simply pulled, often without anesthesia, beyond perhaps some sake. The pain is excruciating. Many samurai lose multiple teeth by middle age. The chronic pain from dental issues, the inability to eat certain foods, the infections that can spread to your jaw and blood. These would be unbearable for people accustomed to modern dental care. Parasites are nearly universal. Poor sanitation, consumption of raw or undercooked fish, working in rice paddies, all expose you to intestinal parasites. You live with them, experiencing periodic cramping, digestive issues, and the slow drain on your nutrition and energy. The discomfort is constant, but so common that it's barely mentioned. Modern people, accustomed to parasite-free lives, would be horrified and weakened by these infestations. Injuries from training and battle never fully heal. A sword wound to your shoulder that was treated by cauterization and prayer leaves you with limited mobility. A broken rib that wasn't properly set causes chronic pain. Old fractures ache in cold weather. Without modern orthopedics, physical therapy, or pain management, you simply adapt to your damaged body as best you can, fighting and training despite limitations that would disable athletes today. The psychological trauma accumulates year after year. You've killed. You've watched friends die. You've been injured. You've lived in constant stress and vigilance. What we now call PTSD is your daily reality. Hypervigilance, flashbacks, nightmares, emotional numbing. But there's no name for this, no treatment, no recognition that it's even a problem. You're simply expected to function despite carrying wounds that are invisible but crippling. The physical demands of your life age your body rapidly. Men in their 30s have the bodies of much older men by modern standards. Joints wear out from endless training. Backs curve from years of bowing and armor. Your lifespan, if you survive battle, might only reach the 40s or 50s. And even those years are marked by pain and deterioration that modern medicine could prevent or treat. There is no retirement plan, no comfortable final years. You serve until you die, or until you're too old to be useful, at which point you might be given a tiny plot of land to farm, or expected to survive on the charity of relatives. The samurai, who once commanded respect, might end his days in poverty and obscurity, a burden on his family, haunted by memories of battles and comrades long dead. Your body is a map of violence, sword cuts that healed badly, arrow wounds, burns, bruises that never quite faded. Your mind carries equally deep scars from trauma and loss. You are not the person you were when you began this life, and that younger self would barely recognize you now. The transformation is complete and irreversible, a cost that most modern people would consider too high. Your relationship with your own family offers little comfort. Your wife was chosen for you, not by you. Your children are being raised in the same harsh system that shaped you. You cannot be soft with them, cannot shield them, cannot give them the childhood you might wish for them. Love must be hidden beneath duty, affection masked by discipline. The emotional distance this creates would be heartbreaking for modern parents who prioritize connection and warmth. You know your children will likely die young. War, disease, accidents. The mortality rate is staggering, especially among warriors. You've learned not to become too attached, even to your own offspring, because attachment makes loss unbearable. This protective emotional numbness, while adaptive in this environment, would be recognized as a tragedy in modern understanding of parent-child bonds. The order finally comes. You're marching to war. All the training, all the preparation coalesces into this moment. But reality immediately diverges from expectation. The march itself is a nightmare. Days or weeks of walking in armor, carrying supplies, sleeping on the ground in all weather. Your feet blister and bleed. Your shoulders are raw from armor straps. You eat whatever is available, often going hungry. Dysentery spreads through the ranks. Men fall sick and are left behind. You see the enemy army for the first time. This isn't a movie with clear sides and heroic music. It's thousands of men preparing to kill each other. Fear and aggression thick in the air. You can smell them across the battlefield. Sweat, fear, human waste. You can hear them. The clash of weapons being prepared. Voices raised in war cries or prayers. Your training helps, but it cannot fully suppress the primal fear that grips you. The waiting before battle begins is its own torture. You stand in formation, armor heavy, weapons ready, while commanders negotiate or decide tactics. Minutes stretch into hours. Your legs ache from standing. Your mouth is dry with thirst and fear. You need to urinate, but cannot break formation. Men around you vomit from nervousness. Some pray, some try to joke. You stand silent, trying to control your breathing, knowing that soon you may die. Battle begins with arrow volleys. The sky darkens with thousands of arrows. A deadly rain. You raise your shield or hope your armor holds. Arrows strike men around you with sounds like meat being struck with sticks. Screaming starts immediately. A man you trained with takes an arrow through his throat and drowns in his own blood at your feet. The randomness of death is immediate and terrifying. There's no skill, no honor in this phase, just luck. You charge forward with your unit. The sprint in full armor while maintaining formation is exhausting. Your breathing roars in your ears. Your vision narrows, and then you crash into the enemy line. The collision is chaotic, screaming, metal on metal, men crushing against each other. Your sword arm moves almost automatically, the training taking over. But nothing prepared you for the confusion, the noise, the closeness of it all. You kill another person face to face for the first time in actual battle. Your blade cuts into flesh, and the sensation travels up your arm. The man you've struck looks at you with shock, pain, sometimes even pleading. He falls, and you move to the next. But something in you changes with each kill. A part of your humanity is cut away with each stroke. This is the reality of war that training can only approximate, and it transforms everyone who survives it. An enemy sword cuts deep into your thigh. The pain is unlike anything you've experienced, sharp, burning, all-consuming. Blood soaks your leg. You're still fighting, operating on pure adrenaline, but you know this wound might kill you, even if you survive the battle. Infection, blood loss, shock, any could end you in the days to come, and there's nothing to be done but hope. The battle ends. You're alive, but barely. The battlefield is a nightmare landscape. Bodies everywhere. Some dead, some dying, some just wounded and calling for help you cannot give. The smell of blood and opened bowels is overwhelming. You're covered in blood, some yours, some from men you killed. Your ears ring from the noise. Your mind cannot fully process what you've experienced. Modern combat veterans with advanced support systems still struggle with this. You have only silence and the expectation to move on. You must help gather the dead, identify comrades, prepare bodies for cremation. You must search the battlefield for salvageable equipment. Your wound is treated by a field surgeon whose tools are crude and whose understanding of infection is minimal. He pours sake on it, binds it, and tells you to rest. But there's no real rest. You must be ready to fight again tomorrow, or next week, or whenever the next battle comes. Despite your wound, despite your exhaustion, despite the trauma, you must participate in the victory celebration that night. Men who barely held together during battle now boast and laugh. A psychological defense mechanism. You must smile, must drink, must act as if you're not falling apart inside. The disconnect between what you feel and what you must display would break most modern people's ability to cope. You survived the battle, but lost comrades whose families you must face upon your return. You must tell a widow that her husband died honorably, even if he died screaming in fear. You must look at children who will never see their father again and maintain composure. The guilt of survival, the wondering why you lived when others didn't, becomes a weight you'll carry forever. The fundamental truth emerges clearly now. You would have to give up everything that makes you yourself. Your individuality, your personal desires, your concept of human rights, your expectation of safety, your belief in self-determination, all of it would have to be surrendered completely. You would have to become a tool, a weapon, a symbol, anything but a free person pursuing happiness. The psychological death required to truly live this life would precede any physical death by years. And yet, you see men living this life all around you. They were shaped from childhood for it, molded by a culture that reinforced these values with every breath. They know no alternative. For them, this is not suffering, but duty, not imprisonment, but honor, not death, but purpose. But for someone from our modern world, with our concepts of individual rights, personal choice, mental health, and human dignity, even a single day in this life would be unendurable. The wound in your leg isn't healing properly. Infection has set in, evidenced by the red streaks spreading from the injury and the fever that grips you at night. The field surgeon can do little more than change the bandages and hope You've seen men die from infected wounds, their bodies consumed by fever, delirious and suffering. This could be your fate, and there's no hospital to rush to, no antibiotics to save you, just the slow wait to see if your body can overcome the infection on its own. Between battles, you're given temporary quarters in a captured town. The living conditions are squalid. Multiple samurai share small spaces. Lice spread rapidly. Food is still scarce. The local population views you with fear and hatred. You're an occupying force, and they know what that means. You must remain vigilant even in this supposed rest period, because assassins, ambushes, and sabotage are constant threats. Sleep comes in short, restless bursts, never enough to truly recover. Letters arrive from home, but they bring no comfort. Your family writes of hardships caused by the war, reduced stipends, conscription of workers, food shortages. They remind you again of your duty, of the importance of victory, of the shame that would come from failure. There's no warmth in these letters. No, we miss you. Only the continued weight of expectation pressing down on you from hundreds of miles away. You witness another samurai commit seppuku, not from an order, but from shame. He failed in a crucial moment during the battle, broke formation, showed cowardice, rather than face the dishonor and the punishment that would surely come. He chooses ritual suicide. You watch as he makes the cuts, as his kaisha kunin ends his suffering. This could have been you. One moment of weakness, one instant where fear overwhelmed training, and you would be the one kneeling with a blade in your hands. The war drags on. Days become weeks, weeks become months. You fight more battles, each one blurring into the next. More friends die. More enemies fall to your blade. Your body accumulates more scars. Your mind, more trauma. The person you were before the war seems like a distant dream, someone else entirely. You're being hollowed out, refined down to pure function, a weapon with just enough consciousness to wield itself. When peace finally comes, it's not relief you feel, but emptiness. What do you do with yourself when war, which has consumed your every moment for months or years, suddenly ends? You return to your domain, to the routine of training and duty, but everything feels different now. You've crossed a threshold that cannot be uncrossed. The things you've done, the things you've seen, have changed you permanently. Modern therapy might help process this trauma, but you have only silence and sake, and the expectation to simply continue. You realize that survival isn't really survival at all. Yes, your body still functions, your heart still beats, but the person who marched off to war is gone, replaced by something harder, colder, more damaged. You perform your duties, you train, you eat and sleep, but there's a hollowness inside that nothing fills. This is what it means to survive as a samurai. Not death, but a kind of living death, where you continue to function while the essential self has been sacrificed on the altar of duty and honor. As our imagined day, stretched across months of experience, draws to a close, you lie on your thin futon, body aching from wounds old and new, mind filled with images you can never unsee. Tomorrow will bring more of the same, more training, more duty, more suppression of self in service to the code. This isn't an adventure or a heroic tale. This is the grinding reality of a life lived at the intersection of absolute discipline and constant violence. We romanticize the samurai in our modern age. We see the elegant swords, the beautiful armor, the philosophical texts. We watch movies where warriors die with poetic grace, but we filter out the cold, the hunger, the pain, the fear, the grief, the loss, the absolute control that crushes the human spirit, even as it forges warriors. We don't see the dental infections, the parasites, the PTSD, the emotional suppression that damages relationships. We don't feel the constant vigilance, the endless exhaustion, the knowledge that your life is not your own. The samurai were remarkable. Their discipline, their skill, their dedication, these were genuine and impressive. But they were also human beings, trapped in a system that consumed them. Many modern virtues we hold dear, compassion, individual freedom, emotional expression, the pursuit of happiness, were luxuries they could not afford. They paid for their legendary discipline with their humanity, trading joy and freedom for honor and duty. Could a modern person survive even one day in this life? Physically, perhaps, if they were already fit and trained, but psychologically, spiritually, emotionally, the answer is almost certainly no. We are products of our time as much as the samurai were products of theirs. The gap between our worlds is not merely one of technology or politics, but
lot of fundamental assumptions about what it means to be human, what life should offer, what we owe to ourselves and others. Every physical challenge, the cold, the hunger, the exhaustion, the pain, would be compounded by psychological ones. The constant surveillance, the rigid hierarchy, the emotional suppression, the proximity to death, the absence of personal choice. Modern people who struggle with minor stresses, a difficult boss, a long commute, an uncomfortable chair, would be utterly broken by the relentless demands of samurai life. The training alone would defeat most of us. Not just the physical intensity, but the psychological conditioning to kill, to obey without question, to value honor over life itself. We're raised to believe in our own importance, our right to happiness, our individual potential. The samurai were raised to believe they were tools, that their worth came from service, that personal desires were weaknesses to be overcome. The social structure would be equally crushing. Every interaction governed by complex rules of hierarchy and etiquette. Every word a potential offense. Every gesture scrutinized for impropriety. Modern people who value casual communication, authenticity, and equality would find this environment suffocating beyond endurance. And the violence, not just the physical violence of training and battle, but the psychological violence of a system that demanded the death of your individual self. The constant preparation for killing, the actual taking of human lives, the witnessing of death and suffering, the knowledge that your own death could come at any moment, from battle, from illness, from an order to commit suicide. Modern people who live mostly insulated from violence would be traumatized by even witnessing what samurai were expected to do routinely. The samurai era ended over a century ago. The code of Bushido, while it influenced modern Japanese culture, no longer demands the absolute sacrifice it once did. We can study this history, admire certain aspects of it, learn from it, but we should also recognize how fortunate we are to live in a time and place where our individuality is valued, where our comfort matters, where our lives are our own to direct.
So as you lie in bed tonight, in your climate-controlled home, free to pursue your own goals, safe from violence, with access to modern medicine and adequate food and personal privacy, imagine just for a moment that samurai on his thin futon. He's aching and exhausted, carrying wounds, both physical and psychological that will never fully heal. He knows that tomorrow brings more of the same, and that this is his life until death claims him in battle, or age allows him to retire in obscurity and poverty. Thank whatever circumstances of history and geography brought you into this world instead of that one. The samurai lived lives of extraordinary discipline and sacrifice, and we can honor their memory without romanticizing their suffering. We can appreciate the aspects of their code that remain valuable: dedication, skill, loyalty, courage. While being grateful, we don't have to pay the full price they paid, because the truth, the fundamental truth underlying everything we've explored today, is this: you wouldn't survive a day as an ancient samurai, not because you're weak, but because you're human. And being fully human, with all the vulnerability and emotional depth and desire for self-determination that entails, was something that life simply didn't allow. The samurai sacrificed their humanity to become perfect weapons. They endured unimaginable hardship to uphold a code that demanded everything and gave back only honor, an honor that came at the cost of joy, health, freedom, and often life itself. They were extraordinary, but their extraordinary nature came from surviving and functioning within a system that would destroy most people. This has been 101 reasons, woven through a single devastating day that stretched into a lifetime, why you wouldn't survive as an ancient samurai. May we honor their memory by appreciating the freedoms they never knew, and by never taking for granted the ordinary miracles of our modern lives. The right to choose our own path, the ability to express our emotions, the expectation of safety, the possibility of happiness, and the simple dignity of being treated as fully human.